Hey, it's Chrissy and Amanda.
Two girls from Saskatchewan, Canada, living the Reiki life while working the 9 to 5.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good week. You're here with Christy.
And Amanda.
And we have a special episode today that we're going to dive into. But first of all, let's see what's going on.
Yeah, so things have been good on my end. I've had some really awesome Reiki sessions. And I had my first pair of Reiki students to teach level 1. My first time, it was just a single person. And so we brought someone in during level 2 to practice on. But this time, I had 2 students come in and they got to practice on each other. We did the attunements and then we did a little practice. And that was probably the funnest thing because I could see the joy light up when they realized that I can do this. And, I told them right when they sat down and we started to open up the booklet and just get started with the Reiki manual, I said, you were guided here for a reason. This is divine guidance, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't supposed to be doing this. So if anyone else is kind of like, what if I take Reiki and then nothing happens? And you know what, Christy, I actually thought about us when we first dove into this together. I remember I picked you up when we were going to go, and I was really nervous about that. I thought, what if I hold my hands over and I don't feel anything? And I was so scared about it. So funny. And I just remember that feeling. So with my students, I just reassured them that, I don't have any desire to build houses. I don't have any desire to be a party decorator, but I did have a desire to do Reiki. And when I started it, I could feel it, and it started off maybe a little bit slower compared to where I am now, but it's going to work and it's going to be awesome. And it did work, and it was awesome for both my students. I could tell they were just like a big sigh of relief. So just trust that guidance and trust what your desires are because they are leading you from the divine, and really believe that. So it was awesome.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, that really does take you back to where we first started. And I remember when you were like practicing, you're like, do you have pain in your hip? Or like there was some pain.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I do. And you're like, I could see the look on your face like, like I just like did that. And I was like, I was so proud of you in that moment because I just felt like you just like had that clarity and like that confidence come through like, hey, I can do this. I can feel this. And I know when people think like, oh, I'm not gifted, I'm not special. Like, when people go down that whole rabbit hole, it's like, no, everybody is gifted and everybody's special. And that's the cool part about Reiki is we get to find out what makes you special, what gifts you do have. That's what I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And everyone has their own unique spin on things, and it's really cool to see how that'll develop for each of them. And yeah, I absolutely love teaching. I'm so glad I did this.
I know, I'm so glad you did too. And just to like watch them blossom and grow and like be that mentor is just, that's so neat to see you on the other side of things through our journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's going on with you, Christy?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I'm just getting over a cold. I haven't had a cold in 4 years, which isn't a good thing if you're looking at things homeopathically. Like a healthy human is supposed to get, or adult should get a cold like 2 to 3 times a year. And like, yeah.
I'm on par for sure now that I have a son in daycare. Like I'm the healthiest person alive.
But they should be like a short, acute, or like the acute symptom should be like 3 to 4 days. I'm not talking about like a 2-week long cold because then we got an issue. But it was just interesting to hear that perspective because when you get a cold, it's your immune system going to the gym, pumping its muscles. Because if your immune system never goes to the gym and something big happens, it's going to be out of shape. So like, oh, that's really fascinating. But, yeah, with this cold coming up, of course, I always look into it as there's an energetic release, like the sinuses, and the time of fall right now is all about grieving. So I kind of went down that path. Like, what am I grieving? What am I letting go of What am I making space for? So I sat with that and I found my answer. So that was really good. And I spend a lot of time outside with my dog, with the trees and everything, and just watching the leaves change colors is so interesting. And it's funny. I was like, I'm going to share like this little wisdom nugget I got today. And I just like pictured myself as like this old lady. And like, I'll be Auntie Christy and be like, kids, do you want to learn about nature? I have a lesson for you. And they're going to be like, oh, Auntie. Just like gather around to be this wise woman. But yeah, so the message I got today was, I seen a tree with green leaves, I seen a tree with no leaves, and I seen a tree with yellow leaves. And they're all letting go and they're all dying in this process together. But they're all in a different phase. And each tree doesn't compare themselves to the other tree. They don't care what the other person is doing. They are just letting go in the way that they feel is best for them. So I felt that was like a really beautiful lesson for right now, for where people are, because as fall comes, like we are grieving something, we are letting go of something, whether you're aware of it or not. And it's important not to compare your journey ever to anybody else, because we're all so different. So I thought that was kind of neat.
That is neat. And you know what, actually? I feel like a lot of clients that I've seen lately that's exactly what's happening. It's like just kind of, they almost feel like they're grieving. They're just tired and feeling just kind of out of sorts. And, this fall is coming in, summer's over, and that's kind of sad, right? And
Yes.
now we're into a whole new season for sure. And things get pretty cold here and kind of make people hibernate too. But, that's a really good thing. We should never compare ourselves to others. One, we've never had their experiences that make
Mm-hmm.
them react a way that they could react to something, right? And it's really good.
Yeah. Yep. So a little wisdom nugget from Mother Nature for you.
Wonderful way to start off this episode.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Hmm. Okay, so actually, when we record this, we have the solar eclipse coming up on October 2nd. So I know I've been feeling that energy a bit already, even though it's coming up tomorrow technically. So hopefully you got through that. Okay. Are you feeling that, Christy, over there?
Yes. Yes, I am. Like lots of things coming up. Like with this cold, for example, right? But I feel like some people around me are getting hit a lot worse than I am.
I gotta say, it's so funny actually. Christy and I both got sick literally at the same time. We saw each other and then we checked in a couple days later and we were both sick. But yeah, I feel like mine actually came and went like really quick. I was so grateful.
Yes, that's always nice. Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, lots of things getting shaken up right now, and I think a lot of it is like relationships, balancing out, coming to an end, that type of thing, and that's like right on par for Libra season. Just that
Yeah.
balancing act right now. So
Yeah, that's right. And coming up, we have the full moon in Aries still on October 17th. So that's also that fire sign, that emperor energy in the tarot deck. So just something to keep in mind of if, things are getting, you kind of pass through the sadness and grief that we are grieving. And maybe now you've moved to the anger stage, which could be coming up in the full moon. So just have awareness. And two, that emperor energy is a really masculine energy. So that's a really good energy if you want to like take action and start like getting things done. Maybe you want to start getting stuff cleaned up for the new seasons to come and put stuff away. But that's a good energy to get stuff done for sure, that masculine energy.
yeah, for sure, I'm looking forward to that. So
Yeah.
it's important what we do now to be ready for that time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for today's topic, we wanted to share about level 2 Usui Reiki. That's what we thought we would dive into today.
Yeah. I think we both had a moment like, hey, we never actually talked about level 2 in Usui Reiki. And I think we're going to call it Usui for the whole episode, right?
Yeah, I know. I panicked when I said it. I was like, "Oh, am I saying this right?" Because we've gone like back and forth. And okay, let's just go with Yasui. Yep, that sounds good to
Yeah,
me.
I've decided just from talking to other Reiki masters that that's the correct pronunciation.
Okay.
So every teach their own, but that's what we're using throughout the whole one here
Yep,
today.
that sounds good.
Yes. So level two. Okay, so just to recap level one, when you first start out in Reiki, you get four attunements. And then level two, you actually just get one. And that attunement really attunes you to using the symbols that you get in level two, Usui Reiki. So we're going to talk about the symbols, the different types of symbols. And level one is when you're doing self treatments. And so now that we're at level two, we are going to be talking about like giving, treating others and working on others. You would, and how you do that. So yeah, let's get into it. For level two, you would typically treat people. They would come in, and you would traditionally you're supposed to treat the front of the body, and then halfway through, you're supposed to get them to flip over and treat the back of the body. I personally never get a client to flip over, especially if they're in a really relaxed state. I just, unless there's something that's really pressing that's telling me I need to treat something very specific, maybe they have a back injury of some kind or something like that, I never get a client to flip over. It always says Reiki is going to flow exactly where it needs to go for the client. Like you don't even need to control it. You're not doing anything like that. You're just kind of that channel for Reiki to flow. So I don't find it necessary. What do you think, Christy?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about like when I go for a massage, and you know how annoying it is when it's like, okay, flip on your back now, and you're like, oh, but it's like when you're in that relaxed state, you flip over, it takes like 30 seconds, and then I'm back into that relaxed state. And yeah, I feel like when I'm doing distance, I do find I flip the bear over. Like that's a lot easier when you don't have a human there. And I find the back of the heart sometimes needs some love. Like I don't know, there's just something really special about the back of the heart. I don't know if it's more vulnerable because it's on the back or like easier to send the Reiki there. Like say I'm having a hard time on the front of the heart, I would try the back and see how that feels. But you're right, like the energy is going to flow where it needs to go, whether you're on your front or on your back. I agree with that.
I've heard of that too. You're right. The best way to access the heart chakra is through the back. So that is interesting. If you're really trying to, I guess, have a release, not that we're forcing, because you never try to force the energy, it
No.
only will slow it down. But if you did want to try to see if something could kind of give, like that is a really good idea, especially with the heart. I feel like that's just the main hub, right? So yeah, really good idea, especially distant. Because what do you got to lose? You can just flip it
Flip them
over
over.
and see if you get better results that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talk to the bear like they're actually like an actual person. Okay, I'm gonna flip you on your back now. And yeah, and I've even done like back of the hips, like when they flip over as well, like that area. But it just really depends on the client and the situation, and just listening to that guidance and intuition on what's coming through when the session is flowing.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the highlight of the whole episode, actually, is listening to your own intuition for sure. You're
Yeah.
going to do that when you want to use a symbol. You're going to do that if you want them to flip over, or there's even sometimes I will lift legs or I will push on the side of their hips. Like I just do whatever is being called to do, and it's different for every client.
Yeah.
Just because I'm rubbing someone's feet doesn't mean they're going to get a foot massage every time they come, but sometimes it's like almost like I'm working stuck energy out in between the top of the foot. I don't know. But yeah, that's a really good point. Use that intuition.
Yep, that's right. So, next up, what we want to talk about is the symbols that you learn in level two. And I wanted to share that I don't have my level two symbols in Usui Reiki. I've been trained in a different type of Reiki, And Amanda's actually going to attune me to these symbols soon. So I'm looking forward to it so I can try these symbols out.
Yeah, I can't. I'm so excited that you almost kind of waited for me to do that. It's very honoring for me.
Yes. Yeah. I just felt called to learn these symbols through you. And yeah, it's just trusting your journey. You know, like somebody asked us on Instagram if they recommend trying a different Reiki instead of taking the traditional route. And looking back on my journey, I believe like this was the route I was supposed to take. But there's so much good information learning the traditional route first, I find. Like you really get the meat and potatoes, like the feeling of the energy instead of like bouncing into past lives and the inner child, like all like that to me is like advanced, right? So I
It
feel
is.
like, yeah, when you start at like the heart of it, like the Usui, following the tradition and learning these symbols and really like anchoring that in, I feel like that is a really good spot to start in. But just trust what you're being called to.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure that. Trust that for sure.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about the three symbols that you learn, and these symbols aren't secret. You can obviously look them up, just like when we talked about Egyptian Reiki, you can always look up all those symbols too. Um, so we do have the first one, the Shoku, and that's that power symbol. So it's that I put the power of the universe here and now. So this is used for directing and increasing energy. You can use this symbol on your car to ensure a safe journey while you're traveling, or even draw it under stamps to make sure your mail arrives safely if you still mail things. You can even place the symbol around your room as a protection. And I might have touched on this, but I remember drawing that symbol on my Reiki room walls, and I even drew it on the hospital room walls when I was pregnant with my son and about to have my son. I remember drawing that. So it's a very powerful symbol. If you're finding, things aren't really releasing, and you can always put a symbol on it to help release the area that you're trying to. If you feel like you've been stuck at a certain area for so long and you're like, okay, my hands aren't really releasing, try drawing the Shoku, and that'll usually help it kind of give.
Yeah, and when I was reading about this symbol, this one teacher related it to like turning the light switch on, or it's called the light switch as it turns on and activates all the other symbols. So I thought that was really, really fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. So the second symbol, that Seihei, you would always follow up with the Shoku to help amplify and, like you said, turn that on. Yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is,
Hey.
yeah, that's really, really good.
And I also read about this one lady that she draws it on the roof of her mouth with her tongue. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something else that you can do as well. Like there's a couple things, like you can either draw those symbols on your hands before you even start a session, so then they're carried out throughout the whole session. And to me, I almost find that better than having to draw them individually during the session. Sometimes I honestly don't even remember to do it. So I like that at the beginning, but yes, with your tongue, you definitely can. I don't know how many people would really practice that. I'd love to hear from you if that's something you have mastered. But I personally don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I was just trying to figure out like how would I draw this on the roof. I guess after practice you could get it done, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. And then like projecting the symbol as well, like I think on her hands while she does it. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, yes, for sure.
So the second symbol is called Seihei, and that translates to balance, harmony, and protection. And when I was reading about this, like Sei means birth, like coming into being, and Heiki means like balance and equilibrium. So you can draw these on the palms before a treatment, or you can draw it on like your solar plexus to balance emotions and heal them against like energy vampires. And even if you're struggling to sleep, you could draw it on a piece of paper and put it under your bed. There's so many things you can do with these symbols to just try them out and see what happens. That's what I'm excited to do.
Yeah. And then you'll always follow it up with that Shoku ray afterwards.
So it's like a sandwich.
Yeah. 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 And just
Okay.
and it amplifies the energy after. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And even too, if you were even making out your manifestation list, like say it's the new moon energy and you really wanted to lock in all those goals and things like that, you can draw the symbols on there too and just really use that Reiki energy power to amplify your list.
And it's all about like your intention behind it. Because if you're just like, just kind of sloppy drawing it, just like, oh, whatever, because I have to, I feel like it's going to have power, but not as much. I feel like when you really put like a power and ritual behind anything, of course, it's going to manifest in whatever you put into it.
Yeah. Something really interesting when I was taking my Usui Reiki, like Christy and I both had a different type of Reiki before. I realized that I was doing the symbols, but I was doing them in my own way. So, and it was funny, I almost had this aha moment. It was like the light bulb went on. So when I'm Reikiing someone, it's almost like my hands go up, like they cup together, and then I bring them all the way up above my head, like a gift, and something is being blessed. And then I bring it down to my heart, and then I insert it into the person's like energetic body. And I've done that for ever and ever, and I'll always kind of get a message of what it is, like if it's unconditional love or perseverance or courage, like something usually will come into as what I'm putting in. But I realized after it's like when I'm doing that, that is my way of doing the symbols. So it's like I don't actually really draw the symbols unless it comes into my awareness that I need to. I know how to draw them, but that is my own way of me doing symbols. And you might have your own way too, and that is completely awesome. Don't feel like you need to stick to the very book strictly this. Newer, like we're going into the new earth and everything is evolving and shifting up, and so is Reiki. So, I mean, yeah, stick with those foundations, but still let it flow out and let it grow and get into this cool, weird thing. Like that's what I'm teaching my students. So just roll with what happens and trust it.
I love that. That's like important, not or to let go of the rigidity of something. Because, like, say after a Reiki session, oh my goodness, I didn't draw this symbol. What happens if the Reiki didn't flow? Like, don't ever doubt what happened during a session, because just trust what happened was what needed to happen in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And then our third symbol is Hansha Zishonan. Just rolls right off the tongue. And that is the symbol you'll do for the distant healing. And that symbol means no past, no present, no future. So I know I personally believe that you can send distant healing with intention because Christy and I used to do distant healing all the time without drawing the symbol. I draw it now if I feel like I should, but I feel like we are just tuned to the Reiki energy, and Reiki energy holds no boundaries. It can go between time and space, all of that. But that is the symbol that you would use to do a distant session.
Yeah, have you noticed like any difference when you have used it?
Being completely transparent, no, I have not. I have had the same clients I do distantly without the symbol and then with the symbol. And I have these clients over the phone. Like I can feel their energy. They can feel me working in their energy or having reactions to me being in their field. So no, I think it's just the fact that I am tuning into their energy, which is another thing we kind of get into in level two. And I know, Christy, you do this too. It's like we call in all of their guides and angels, and we kind of sit there in just a grounded state, and we are tuning into their field and connecting our third eye fields into theirs to be able to work on their energetic body. So I feel like that tuning in, which is what you and I were really taught, is excellent.
Yeah, I agree. It's that what's that word, like invocation? It's like
Mhm.
setting that, like having that ritual to call in your guides and your angels, and then also like setting your mind up and grounding yourself. I believe that is like how you start the Reiki session is so important. Yeah, and everybody's gonna start their session a different way, and just tune in and feel what's right for you. Like, just because your Reiki master tells you that they do something this way and say it doesn't feel right with you, sit with it and take what resonates from what they taught you and leave the rest. Like, I believe like a good Reiki master is somebody that encourages you to follow your own intuition and not like what I believe is what you believe type of thing. I think that can kind of, go down a slippery slope, because I find when people find Reiki, you're kind of starting your spiritual journey. And that can be a vulnerable time too. You're trying to find your way, trying to find what to believe in. And it's just to always come home to yourself and believe in what is in your heart and just take what resonates and leave the rest.
Yes, and if you always listen to your heart, it'll never be the wrong decision.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, and I wanted to talk about something that is actually taught in level one. So it's chakra balancing. In my opinion, this should be a level two lesson. And I think I even skipped this over my level one because they said they wanted to take two. Wasn't that I was robbing them of this information. But you're learning so much at the beginning with Reiki and the hand positions. And chakra balancing is almost like its whole other ball game. So I know practitioners who offer this almost as a separate service. They'll offer just traditional Reiki, and that's with the standard hand positions and moving them just down the body, starting at the crown, working your way down. And then chakra balancing. This is actually something that Christy and I do. We both scan the seven major chakras and we work on the chakras and we balance them, we read them. So I thought this was really interesting. The Usui way to do chakra balancing is a little bit different than how Christy and I do by doing them all individually. By balancing the chakras, you're actually starting at the crown. You have one hand over the crown, one over the root, and you have the symbols drawn on each hand at each position. So you start there and then you move your hands in. So then you'd be at the sacral and the third eye, and then you'd move into the throat and the solar plexus, and then you'd move into both hands over the heart, drawing the symbols at each positioning. And then you're kind of balancing that energy and from the back all the way into the middle there. But yeah, Christy and I, we actually do things a little different, and I wanted us to both kind of talk about that.
Yeah, that's interesting how you talk about having the one hand at the third eye and then one at the sacral. Is that what you said?
Mhm.
Yeah, when I first started, I remember I was doing like a practice Reiki session on someone, and I was working closely with, oh, is it like some deity? I can't remember what his name was. Maybe it was what's that like wizard guy?
Pardon.
Yes, maybe it was him. Or Saint Germain, is that so? I don't know. Anyways, I'll get on with the story. But they came through and they showed me exactly that. Like I had my hand actually, yeah, on their third eye, and then it was more closer to the root, and I had my hands out and I was feeling the balance, and my hands were like doing the dance like the scales would and balancing everything out. And I actually drew a symbol connecting all the chakras, like, and it was really neat. And I practiced it and it came through, and I practiced it on this one lady, and she was actually sitting, and we were on Zoom, And all of a sudden she's just like, whoa, like I'm so relaxed right now. And I was like, whoa, it's working. So I was just like, I felt like it was just balancing like the nervous system, almost like a cranial sacral thing going on. Just like, I don't know, above as below, above, so below. It was just, it was so neat. So it's something that I do at the end of a session is I always do that hand position. I don't always draw the symbol, but I just make sure that everything is balancing and just trust that my hands, like they're going up and down and then just watching them flow. And then when they come to the same spot, I know it's done.
Oh, that's beautiful. And see, that's just something you knew to do intuitively.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really neat. And another thing with the chakra balancing, it's like, have you ever been over top of a chakra and like do your hands kind of go like back and forth like this?
Yes. It's
Sorry, it's
almost
hard
like a,
to. How do
yeah,
you
I was
explain
trying to,
that? You got CB.
trying to describe it. It's like you're holding a ball, but then you're kind of moving the ball like up and down, side to side kind of a thing, cupping it in your
Yeah.
hands. Is
Yeah,
that?
it's like you're balancing it. Like it's,
Hmm.
and I always wonder like, hey, what are my hands doing right now? But it's just like just kind of tweaking that energy like that spinning disc. Like you're just kind of giving it a little, like I picture putting like a tire on a car and you're just trying to find that right fit so that tire will spin properly.
Yes, absolutely. I also sometimes find myself going like clockwise, sometimes counterclockwise, but then it's clockwise with my hands, and I'm almost doing like a really fast circular motion over the chakra as well to get it like spinning and balancing, I guess.
Oh,
Almost like a
that's really
topple,
neat.
just like, yeah, getting it spinning. And
Hmm.
that also is just something that just started happening. But yeah, sometimes I'll even hold the energy like a ball in my hands, and it's almost like I'm working it like taffy. Like stretching it out. And then I'm like, yeah, it's so funny. It's almost like, yeah, like gum or something. And then I just, when I know when I'm done, I just put it back in.
Yeah, you just trust it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
see, that's just like following your intuition as to how you feel energy and how you want to balance it out. And it's so neat when you really get to know the chakras and then like feeling the energy into each chakra and how they spin. And then you compare them to the other ones. It's just, it's really neat.
Yeah. It is really neat. I thoroughly enjoy that. And that for me is part of my whole Reiki practice. I don't offer it separate. It's like when you come in for Reiki, I'm going to Reiki you, yes, but I'm going to be balancing the chakras at the same time. And I think you do that just unknowingly.
Yeah, I totally do. Like, I don't do a lot of the traditional hand positions. And that's just me.
Hmm. Yeah, again, it's kind of whatever's calling. I do definitely more of a balance, a mix now. Now that I am certified in Usui, I do find myself doing a mix for sure. But yeah, it's all Reiki to me. I don't separate the services. And if some people do, I think that's great. I've thought about it. That should I? I do make sure to ask my client what they came for, or if they've had Reiki before. I don't want to shock and overload them with something they're not expecting, I guess. But
Yeah, I remember thinking about separating the two as well. And I was thinking, like, okay, but what happens if they came in for like this and then this happens? You know, it's just kind of like just putting Reiki all together and just seeing what happens during the session. I don't know if I like to put things in boxes. I kind of like to just see how things flow.
yeah, and that's me too. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, no, those hand positions are really fascinating too. Like I was looking at them, and during my cold, I was giving myself Reiki, and my hands were doing the exact position that was shown in the picture for a cold. And then I was looking at another position, I forget what it was, and I was like, oh, I did that. I did that too. And it's just trusting like where your hands are going. Like it should never be rigid. Just trust the flow and trust where those hands go.
Yeah, so I think that's all we had for our episode today. Any other notes, Christy, you wanted to end on? That was a pretty good one to end on.
Yeah, that feels good to end there. I feel like we had a good conversation, and I hope you learned something new. And if you ever want to Or if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, and I'm going to be the one to do our card pull today. All right. So the overall energy that I got for the spread, I did a spread. So I did a past, present, and future kind of a spread. And the overall energy for this is the Hermit, but in the reverse. So what I'm getting from this right away is that things have been really, really busy and it's time to slow down. It's time to take some time away and take some time for yourself, maybe reflect and just kind of maybe appreciate that fall is coming and maybe summer was really busy and really crazy and it's time to just take a step back. For the past year, I have the Five of Pentacles in the reverse, and I was laughing with Christy because I heard I'm in the dumps, but it's in the reverse, so that's good. It means you're kind of overcoming that feeling of feeling kind of left out or feeling kind of even kind of crappy. And then I have the Temperance in the reverse as well, and then a Six of Cups to follow it. So for the past. So some of you could be feeling just maybe a little bit out of balance, actually. And you're kind of maybe we're doing a lot of reflecting, kind of thinking like, how did I get to this point? What needs to be changed? Or even just kind of reflecting on your own life and making a decision that things need to change or I want to start feeling better overall. And then in the past here, I feel like some people are getting a little stressed out here with they're trying to manifest, but it's almost like you're trying to force. It's interesting. I'm almost seeing that Reiki expression like, don't force the energy. It's only going to slow it down. So just when you plant your seeds, just don't try to stress about them. I got the Nine of Swords beside it. So someone who's kind of even losing sleep. I know there might be a lot riding on this, especially financial. So it feels like a lot of financial stress right now because I got that Ten of Pentacles in the reverse with it. So people who are trying to manifest in abundance, trying to manifest in a lot more money, don't don't force it. Just trust it's going to happen and trust that it will come in. And then the good news is in the future, I have the Ten of Swords. So that's a really good ending. And this in this card, this woman is literally looking out onto the new horizon of the new things that are going to come in. So yes, the Ten of Swords is like in the traditional tarot, it looks pretty violent. But in this one, it's like there's a whole new, it's like you've already completed the cycle, now it's a completion, and now you can move on. And then we have the Page of Wands in the reverse and also the Ace of Swords in the reverse. So definitely trying to start something new, trying to think of a new creative project. And that's good. The new creative project will be good. Again, though, I'm hearing don't try to force it. Don't jump the gun on something until it's ready. If you're looking at something, make sure you've tweaked it and perfected it. You're not going to go out and quit your good job just because you had a idea about something that's not even off the ground yet. So just make sure your ideas are kind of full and complete before you start taking a big leap off the cliff. So, be mindful, but definitely don't force, just trust and maybe draw some Reiki symbols on your manifesting notes. That's a really good idea. And just trust that, no, I put it into the universe. It has to match my suit now. And yeah, that's the message for today.
I love that. I feel like that's yeah, that's meant for someone I know. I'm gonna send them this when it comes out. I
Great.
just like hit the nail on the head for so many things that this person's going through. It's funny how messages come through like that, and then somebody else on the other end will receive it in a different way, and or wherever they listen to this. Yeah,
Yeah, or even maybe just the past cards resonated or just the present resonate. Take what does and leave what doesn't.
yeah, yeah. No, that
Yeah.
was great. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. And thanks everyone for tuning in. This was really fun. And if anyone wants to follow us on Instagram, Living the Reiki Life, and give us a review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you listen, that really helps us out.
Yes, we love reading your reviews. They do mean the world to us. And of course, you can find us on our personal pages as well. I'm at the Birch Soul and I'm offering Akashic readings now and Akashic house clearing. So if you have any questions about that, shoot me a message.
Yeah. And I'm at, sorry, I'm with Reiki with Manda. And yeah, that's my Instagram handle. And yes, I am offering Reiki in person or distant. And I think, am I offering anything else? Oh, card readings, of course. Yeah, reach out to us. Go to my website. If you live in Saskatoon, I'm also looking for clients actually who want to allow me to practice hypnosis on them. So reach out for me for that too. And yeah, have a really good rest of your week.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
1, 2,